We all grew up watching Mr. Bean, and I'm sure if you do watch Mr. Bean, you'll know his iconic Mini Cooper cars in this nice green color to it. But that car was sold all the way from 1959 to the year 2000, and of course, as you expect, by the year 2000, that car was already pretty much looking ancient, just like the Beetle of that time. So in the year 2000, or well, late 2000, BMW/Mini released this one right here, the 2004 Mini Cooper S. Today I'm going to show you around this car, and I'm also going to give it a test drive, so stay tuned. Quick overview about this Mini hatch right here. So the Mini hatch was co-developed by the Rover Group and BMW. Now, you do have to note that Rover at that time was like a subsidiary of BMW, if I'm not mistaken. But anyway, the Rover Group wanted to make a car that was an econo-car, an economy car. And that just sounds ridiculous nowadays. If you think of Mini, you will never think of like an economy car. Instead, BMW, with their sheer driving pleasure goodness, decided to make it this, the Mini we know today. A fun, sporty little car that you can drive around and push it along the corners. Anyway, now let's start from the front. So the Mini has these really nice round headlamps, and what I like about them is that, like, unlike the Clubman, which I recently got the chance to review, that was a bit weird because when you open the hood, the headlamps, they stay right there, and then you have a huge hole on the hood. But for these older Minis, these Coopers, when you lift it up, the headlamps go together with it. Now, another interesting about this is that you have the Mini logo, and it is a Mini, right? So Mini means small, and the Mini logo is small, so it is a Mini logo, unlike, well, newer Mini Coopers. Now, as you can see, also there is a hood scoop. Why is that so? Because this is the Cooper S model, which means that this car is supercharged, and you need all of that fresh air entering the engine through this hood scoop right here. It also looks, honestly, you know, this car, it's a bit quirky looking, but also menacing looking. It's like a small but terrible car. I really love the look of this. What's also cool about the Mini Cooper is that up here on the top, you get the Union Jack flag. So United Kingdom, British power all the way. But remember, this is a BMW. If you look at the Mini Cooper from the side, that's where it comes out that it is really a miniature car. Because just look how short this car is. And what I love about this car is that what Mini did with this car, or well, you know, again, BMW, they put the wheels of the car towards the corner, like straight towards the corner of the car, and so that improves handling a lot. Now, what's cool about this is that despite the size of this car, and remember, this car was released in like the early 2000s, you get 205 5516s, which are pretty big for a car this size. And again, they're painted in white, just the same as the roof. So if you get the roof in like this silver color, apparently the rims will also come in silver. Now, this being the S model, you have an S badge right here. Not sure if that actually adds into airflow or whatever, but it looks pretty good. It adds to the look to it. And now your iconic round Mini side mirrors are also really good looking. Now, since this is the 3-door version and it's a coupe, so if you open this, just look at how long the door is. It's pretty long. It's like more than half of the car, I would say. And usually I check the door thud from the inside, but just take a look, listen to this. That is just so solid. And as you can see as well, this thing like rises up as you close it. Very typical of coupes. The gas filler cap is where, again, is pretty cool with this Mini. It's quite quirky. So if you see this, what's the most logical thing that you would do to open it? I mean, there is a handle, so what would you do? I think any sane person would end up twisting it, right? But you try and twist it and it won't budge. So what do you do instead? You make sure that the car is unlocked and then you pull it towards you. That's how you open it. Despite me being just 5'6", this Mini is just too small for me to stand up for the shot, hence why I'm crouching right now. Anyway, here at the back of the Mini Cooper S, the first thing you'll notice here is that you have this nice wing right here, which you only get with the Cooper S model. And then if you go down here, you're gonna notice, why do you have like a weird looking exhaust pipe? Well, 2 of them actually. Well, here goes the story. There's an urban legend surrounding this car that was actually confirmed by the head designer himself. So it goes like this. This American designer, yes, he was American, was trying to present the design of the Mini Cooper. But then he noticed that the clay mock-up of the car didn't have an exhaust pipe. But then all the, you know, the corporate people were coming in, his bosses were coming in. So he was like, uh-oh, what do we do? The clay mock-up doesn't have exhaust pipe. So he took his Budweiser beer can, he is American after all, he stripped the paint off of it and stuck it to the clay model. And then the corporate people were so impressed that they were like, okay, make that stay, make that stay. And so this was born. The Mini Cooper exhaust pipes. That is now very iconic. Now, since this is the Cooper S model, you get twin exhaust pipes. If you get just the regular Cooper model, you're only gonna have one here to the right. Now anyway, opening this one back up, and it's a very light tailgate. As you open this, you're gonna notice that the seats, they can be folded down, so you have really big amounts of storage. I would appreciate a false floor though. Now, if you lift the seats back up like that, as you can see, there's still ample amount of storage for a car this size. Now, if you open this one up, you're gonna notice that you're gonna have your battery here at the back. Why is that so? That's because this Cooper S model has a supercharger and they couldn't fit the battery anymore at the engine bay, so they had to put it at the back. And now what's interesting about it is that when you buy this car new, it's gonna come and run flat tires in 2004 because there's just no more place to put the spare tire. If you live in a left-hand drive country and you're an owner of the Mini Cooper, you're gonna find a hard time of opening the hood. Why is that so? Because no matter if you got the left-hand drive or right-hand drive Mini Cooper, the hood latch release is always on the right side of the car, so do take note of that. Anyway, once you have that pulled, you just grab under here, under the lights, and you find the latch, and as you lift this up, you're greeted with this really packed engine bay. Anyway, this is a 1.6 liter inline 4 supercharged Tritec engine. So Tritec engine, since it was co-developed with Chrysler Motors. Anyway, as you can see again, it is really packed. They really didn't have a space to put the battery. That's why they threw it at the back. Now, this Cooper S engine, the supercharger, makes it produce over 168 horsepower, or actually 170 in PS, and 220 Newton meters of torque. That's up from around 116 horsepower in the base model Cooper. Entering the Mini Cooper, you have to be very mindful of your head because it is really low. But as you enter the car, you're greeted with this rather nice cabin. I actually like it for a car this age. And first, let's check the thud of the door again. As mentioned earlier, it sounds really good. Now, to start the car up, you have your regular key, none of that push button thing. So it is manual. You have to depress the clutch while you start the car. Fires right up like that. Okay, now in here, let's turn on the AC first. Now, materials, they're not exactly the best, but you have to remember that this car was made in 2004, and back then, cars didn't exactly have the best materials in the interior. So your dashboard, it is a bit soft touch. This is also a bit soft touch, but like the general feel of the cabin isn't exactly on the quality side. There's still a lot of plastics, whatnot, all around it. Now, your steering wheel, it's a nicely sized steering wheel. It is leather wrapped as well. You get multi-functions buttons for it. You get the Mini logo, and right in front of you, you have your tachometer, which goes and redlines around 6,800 RPM, a rather high number. To the center of that, you have a really, really big speedometer, which is really good. But again, if you're sitting beside someone who's like a backseat driver, and they see you going over like 200 kilometers per hour, which this car can easily do, by the way, just expect a lot of shouts from them. Anyway, I love the look of it. You also get the round air vents all over the car. Down in the middle, you have a radio. That is a Harman Kardon sound system. This is a Harman Kardon sound system. Unfortunately, I can't test it out for you because, yeah, it's doing that sound, so it's not working right now. Anyway, it's set to be repaired shortly thereafter the filming of this video. Your AC control, it's just your basic AC control. You don't have a climate control. You have a lot of buttons, so you have your like window switches. They are of course power. You can also adjust your side mirror, but it's really weird. It's like here, down here, which is a very odd place. Again, these switches are rather on the cheap feeling side. Anyway, your shifter, I really love the shifter because it has like this like golf ball design to it. But then again, it looks like a golf ball, but what's the competitor of this car? The Golf? Yes, what was Mini thinking? Okay, this car is powered by a 6-speed manual transmission. You go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The gears are actually really crisp, and to put this car in reverse, you have to like move it to the left, then you push it hard and up for reverse. So you don't have to worry about accidentally putting this car into reverse. Now, the seats, they are manual, but here's where it gets quite weird. So to adjust the seats, so you have your regular thing at the front. But you know how usually like if you want to raise the seat up, you have to pump it from the side. But for Mini, because of like the space here at the side, they decided to put it in front and you just pump it like that. And then for your recline buttons, there's actually two of it, the levers. So there's one here that just moves your recline. Okay, this moves your recline. But then you have another one at the other side, which also it has something to do with the recline of the seat, but it doesn't go to the back. So this button is only used to move it forward and to slide forward to ingress the back. Now, at the top, you get a nice headliner. Most of these minis, the thickness of these things, they tend to like fall and droop. But this car, despite this car having 106,195 miles, which is just a little over 160,000 kilometers, it's still actually holding up great. So this car was probably maintained really well. For the cup holders in the car, so you get two utterly useless cup holders right here. There's this, I'm not sure if this is aftermarket, but it seems to fit really well. So I guess this is original. Okay, this one is a little bit more used to it, but then you open the glove box and you have two more of these like really useless cup holders. Mini, what were you thinking? More of that early 2000s interior design can be noticed here at the doors, because just look at how thin it is. And why is there like a hole in here? Shouldn't it be like until here, then this is the hole where all your window mechanisms are? But they made it into this thing which has like really weird material. So this is plastic, it's like plastic all around, even the handle is plastic, but then they give you some sort of like weird padding that isn't exactly soft. So I don't know what Mini was thinking. What's cool about it though is that if you keep your doors open, there's like a reflector over here so that oncoming vehicles will like see you and, well, not hit you. Great thinking with Mini, I guess, with that one. Climbing at the back of the Mini is actually not that hard. So you just press one button and the seat moves forward and also reclines forward. Then once you're here at the back, there's actually so much space. So now we're gonna try to like pull back the chair. And wow, incredibly, despite this car being so small, but I am only 5'6", but just look at how much legroom I have. So I have around that much legroom. That's comparable to even something like a modern Golf. Yeah, like a modern Golf. So just think about that. Despite the size of this car, that's amazing. Anyway, the seats at the back, they are not as uncomfortable as I thought. So for once, again, your legroom is great. Your headroom is also really good. It's also rather wide, so seating two people back here is definitely an easy thing to do. You get a cup holder that's really small. I don't know what you can put there. And you also have like a plastic made armrest here. So, okay, that's fine. Even if you go longer journeys, I think that this car will definitely be okay. So now, can you see three people here? In a squeeze, you can kind of do it because the car looks a bit wider than it is. So yes, just in a squeeze, you can fit three people back here, but this is only supposedly a two-seater. So driving the 2004 Mini Cooper S. So now when you first get into this car, you'll just immediately notice how small it is. And the thing about it is that this being like an early 2000s car, you don't have so much of your like curtain airbag pillars to cover your view. I mean, this has curtain airbags. It says airbags right there. However, they're really thin, unlike newer Mini Coopers. So I drove the Clubman like a few days ago, last week actually. And the first thing that annoyed me so much with that car is it's as if you have one of those blinders that horses use, so you can only see straight ahead of you. But for this car, the visibility is just really good. It is a coupe after all, so even your B pillars, they're really thin. You also don't have like a barn doors at the back, so you can really see everything out of it, despite this rear view mirror being quite small. Now, you might expect that the Mini Cooper will be a car that is very jolty over speed bumps and potholes, but it's actually not bad. Like, I've had the Golf before, the Sport Wagon Golf, the GTS, and when it comes to like the ride comfort, they're actually quite similar, despite this car being, again, smaller, shorter in wheelbase, and also older. So this thing is definitely a rather comfortable car. So now note that this is the Cooper S, which means that it has the 170 horsepower engine versus the regular Cooper with only around 116. So to test that out, I'm just going to kind of launch this car, but I do have limited roads. So in 3, 2, 1, and just go like that. That is a bad start. Let's go to second. Ooh. Oh, there's another speed bump and I'm out of roads. But that was around 50 miles per hour right there. So the acceleration really isn't bad on this one. I'm sure if you get the regular Cooper, you wouldn't be disappointed either, but the S is just something else. There's just so much speed bumps right here. I really can't bring out the inner potential of this car. Go back to first, and it is quite revvy. Again, it redlines at around 6,800 RPM. It's not a bad driving car at all. It's a really fun car. When you push this car, the sweet spot is around 4,000 RPM. So when you shift just above that and get into the next gear, it just goes so well. You just feel that supercharger fury kicking in, pushing you really hard, and just giving you an extra boost that you're gonna need at a car like this. Over this corner, let's just push it real fast like that. Ooh, that is so flat. I really love the handling of this car. It really pays to have a car that is light, small, and nimble, and this car really delivers in that aspect. If you take this car over like these curvy roads, it handles really well. It's rather flat too. Like, I think the wheels being like at the corners of the car really do help a lot with the handling of this car. So you really wouldn't be disappointed, especially if you're coming from something like an E90, like an E90 BMW 3 Series. This car is rather close to that in terms of like the cornering ability of it. So one advantage about driving small cars like the Mini is because of its size. If you live in like Manila or any small city that you live in, it's so easy to make like 3-point turns. So right now, this road isn't exactly the widest, but like just one turn right here and you're off. Reverse in this car is just to the left of the first gear, but don't worry, you're not gonna mistakenly put this car into reverse because it is quite hard to put it into reverse. But what's quite annoying is that I've stalled already a couple of times during this drive because the first gear and the third gear are so close to each other. So I always end up putting the car into third gear instead of first gear, which is very annoying. But at least, you know, this car's clutch is really good. It's easy to get a hang of this clutch. Even the biting point is very easy to find. It's just really that first and third gear divide that is quite annoying with this car. Is it quiet to drive? Is it a relaxing driving experience? So aside from the suspension being rather soft in terms of the comfort, but again, it doesn't compromise the handling. When it comes to like the noise in the car, it is a bit loud. It is a bit older after all. The noise insulation isn't as good, especially if you compare it to like newer Minis. But it's not enough to detract you from the driving experience of the car because again, this car wasn't really meant to be a cruiser. This wasn't the car that Rover designed it to be, an economy car. No, this car is meant to be a fun driving car. So the trade-off for that would be just a little bit more wind and tire noise permeating into the cabin. If you're looking for a Mini Cooper and you're deciding between like maybe a newer Mini or maybe a Mini of this generation, but you can't decide between a Cooper and a Cooper S, I do highly suggest that you consider one of these as well, because even though they're a bit older, and this one has like over 106,000 miles on it, it's still really good. It still feels really solid all around. And yes, do get the S because that's a big jump from 116 horsepower to 170. And even like 1 horsepower difference would make a big difference for a car this size. The power to weight ratio in these, they're pretty good. If you like this video, please don't forget to smash the like button for the YouTube algorithm. And also don't forget to subscribe to my channel to see more car reviews.